Hey everybody, Andrei from CFX Films here, and you are listening to Indie Talk. Thank you guys for tuning in, and today we have a very special guest. This is Howard Tsao from Muse Games. He is the team lead. So if you guys have heard of the game or even played it, very popular game, Guns of Icarus, this guy is one of the masterminds behind it, and we have him featured today, and he's going to be talking to you guys about game development and just sort of giving his story and his advice to developers who want to get into the industry, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so thanks for joining us, Howard.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me. I feel special already.
Yeah, well, you are. You are a very awesome game developer, and a lot of people love your game, including myself, so it's really exciting for me to have you here too. So how did you get into game development?
I guess the long-winded answer is that, my undergrad has nothing to do with game development. I was not I didn't graduate from like NYU or I didn't study game design. I actually was a history major. And when I graduated, went to a public school, right? I went to Berkeley. So, their career counseling is basically crappy to non-existent. So, they're like, oh, I would like to see if you can help me find a job. Like, what's your major? History major? You can't find a job. But, luckily some of the skills translate, in terms of, writing or, like just some of the more analytical stuff, reasoning, critical thinking, blah, blah. Some of that stuff, kind of got me, I guess in a way I lucked out. There's a marketing job in San Francisco to be found. So I did that for a while and went to grad school. And then after grad school, I basically did a startup with a couple of my friends, and through actually Craigslist, which is pretty random. I met Brian, who basically the project was it's about building virtual worlds and integrating web content. And I guess one of my teammate Brian, was really the one who started implementing that, and we kind of built a small team off of that. Brian brought in a classmate, and then brought another friend. So we kind of got the project on the ground, but the whole venture didn't go anywhere. Project didn't go anywhere. It failed pretty miserably. No one wanted to eventually like all the virtual world stuff became kind of like Second Life, which is kind of like cell porn, right? Like all over the place. So that went nowhere. But we were using Unity at the time, and we got pretty familiar with it, and that was Unity 1.5 or something like that.
Wow.
1.6. Yeah, it was really early days in Unity. And we after that whole thing folded, we just decided to jump out and make games with it, which is what we really wanted to do, what we love to do. So, and then we've been making games ever since.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah. Man, Unity 1.5. Wow, that's like that's before the time of physics.
Yeah.
That was before.
No,
they didn't have real-time lighting then.
That was quite a bit before that, and it's pretty funny. Like we went to the first Unite, which was basically David and like Joachim and I think Tom Higgins was still there.
Wow.
And it was basically them at a bar. There were I don't know how many people were there, but not that many. That was really really early.
That's really cool. You guys can say that you went to that. Do you guys did you actually get to meet them? Do you still stay in touch?
Very rarely. I think Unity's grown so much, and I occasionally still, we'll exchange a message or email with David, but not a whole lot. I think David is a busy man.
Yeah, I think he left the company too, so he's working on something else now.
David, I think he just ceded the CEO role to the new CEO.
It is. Yeah. Well, that's a really cool experience that you guys got to have. So you were talking about how you formed your team at Muse Games. Was Guns of Icarus the first game that you guys worked on under that name?
We started making a couple small games. One's a sledding game, and another one is basically a strategy board game. And we just basically put it up on our site for people to play. They don't exist anymore, but we just put it up for free for just people to play. just to see what we can do really. And it wasn't until our third project, which is, it's now called the Flight of the Icarus, that somehow, some way, in a way we like that, we submitted to Steam, which, Steam was a curated, it was totally about Steam curation back then. And this is 2010. So we submitted to Steam and got lucky enough to be accepted by Steam. Because we were using Unity, right? And it just so happened that they were launching their Mac store, or their Mac storefront, whatever. And we happened to make the release on the same day that Steve's Mac store launched. So we got maybe an inordinate amount of featuring because of it. So it was pretty lucky. And so that's kind of our first game on Steam. And then we released Creeverse, which is a completely different game. It's basically a platformer about these little creatures, glowing, bioluminescent creatures that traverse through a forest, dark forest. So that game is also on Steam, and we ported to the iOS, and now Gunseekers. And Flight of the Icarus is sort of you can call it the single player prototype of Gunseekers. But so I guess Gunseekers will be our third game on Steam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah. See, I don't even know if I was back when Steam first launched that, I think, for the Macs. I don't even know if I was using it regularly yet. Like that. that is really cool. And you guys have been sort of steadily inclining since then. I mean, how big is your team? How many members are you? Are official?
Officially 10. But we work with a few contractors pretty regularly. So
okay.
And some interns,
like composers, things like that, right? Music, like sound.
Composer, artists, and yeah.
So tell me about what Guns of Icarus is now. So about the recent keys that were just sent out, and how players are finally getting to get their hands on it after the many years that it's been in progress, and the Kickstarter's been successful. Yep. And so what's going on with Guns of Icarus right now?
Yeah, so we just sent out, I mean, the release game is still the PvP version, right? So we just sent out actually quite a few keys. We sent out 7,000 keys to essentially Kickstarter backers and also people who pre-order on our site. Basically just to get them early, quote unquote, early access into a test prototype build that we have. So it's like the first time we feel comfortable enough that the game is somewhat stable enough for us to give out keys to people to help us test. And I think Kickstarter is a great forum, a great medium to do that. At least the backers have the expectation that they're going to be, put through the grind and suffer through all the rough and tumble stuff. And a lot of them give us feedback already. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah. And you guys are probably very aware of all the Kickstarter games that were sometimes successful or canceled, or, developers spend all the money and then cancel the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really great that you guys are in that top percentage that is actually staying true to the concept of Kickstarter and respecting that, and respecting the backers that have been following you this whole time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely taken us a long time. And some players are like, where is the game?
Have you got any? Did you have any people asking for refunds?
Yeah, we have actually. Just some people got impatient and they asked for a refund, which is fine. Because I feel like with Kickstarter, some people definitely have the expectation that they're in it to support us or to support the game, so they're willing to help us test, and they think of it as a maybe less as an investment per se, but more as a just kind of a pledge to help us develop the game, right? To bring this idea to fruition. Some people look at it more as a pre-order, I would say, just more as a straight up pre-order. So, when that doesn't happen, like in the time that they expected, then they weren't going to be like particularly happy.
Yeah. Would you use Kickstarter again to fund your next project?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, although it's really interesting about like what Fig is doing, which is really more curated and more specific to games. But apparently, I mean, by the looks of it, I think it will be larger scale game because they're only featuring what like one or two a month. Yeah, I mean, I think if we have another game, we'll definitely consider Kickstarter because I feel like we have experience. We know, I mean, we screwed up on a lot of things and learned some painful lessons, but I feel like we did learn those lessons. So I think overall Kickstarter is a great medium, and it's like why not? I mean, for us, it's if nothing else is a way for us to get the word out to people. So
Yeah.
I think Kickstarter is actually still really good.
Yeah, and you definitely have a strong community that's forming around the game. And and tell me a little bit about this. I know you told me this in person, but so everybody online on YouTube can hear this. Sort of tell me the story of how Guns of Icarus got to its point where it is, and the whole story about YouTubers playing it and how it sort of started becoming noticed.
Oh man, it's a long story.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long story. I mean, it started when we started working on the project. We were actually working with a publisher, Asian publisher, and we basically got wrecked. We got taken to the cleaners, really. So we signed with them because at the time, working with a big publisher with a few $100 million revenue, whatever, it's a huge deal, right? I mean, we thought it was a huge deal, and they show. At the time, like what's funny is that when I first started getting to know them, all I wanted was just to put for them to maybe consider Fly the Icarus for their web store or whatever, and they actually take an interest in what the larger vision that we had, which is the current game, which is Guns of Icarus. But then, yeah, a lot of things went awry. The payment sort of didn't really materialize. They were taking us on the payments, or they were making us do a bunch of stuff that was slated for alpha, for example, like way beyond prototype work, really polished stuff, and then paying us very little for prototype. So they essentially want to squeeze us for as much as they can. And then, so when we finally had enough, after like what, 5.5 months of just straight up crunch and very little sleep type of work, then they basically, like on the phone and in person, openly threatened to copy the game. After that, we kind of started back from scratch and remade a lot of things. Part of it is just also creative control because they wanted to make the game more about, like, to have more of an anime style, because they're Asian publishers, right? That, yeah, which we didn't want to do. So that created a ton of tension as well. And so anyways, we exited out of that relationship. It took us another almost 2 years to make the game and release it on Steam. Kind of surreal or funny in it almost, but we had a terrible launch it during Hurricane Sandy, like on the eve of Hurricane Sandy. So like nothing was working. We used this server company. I think it was, maybe we were using Amazon at the time, I believe, or is it Amazon with Software? I can't remember, but their server farm was having problems as well because they were based in DC, and they're affected by the hurricane. We had no internet. Our building was zoned off because it was flooded. So we had to stay home. A lot of us no power, and we had when you release a multiplayer game, which is like our first, right? We had no concept. Like we did a lot of testing with Kickstarter backers, but there were only so many, right? And later on, when we released the game, we realized that there's a ton of problems that we just never anticipated. So a lot of that came to a head, and we had some bugs that we needed to fix. We actually had a couple of features that we didn't get a chance to roll in, and we wrote on the store page because at the time, we can't audit the store page, right? Like when we send text for the store page, we have to go through Steam. So we're like, okay, here's the latest copy of the store page, and then Steam like posted it. and like, oh, we didn't get to commit the last build, so some of the features, a couple of things like didn't make it in that we actually wrote on the store page, and obviously we got called out for it. So it was like a disaster. I guess we got through it. Most people are actually pretty supportive because we were apologizing like every 10 minutes, whenever we got power. So and then YouTuber, like I guess the whole YouTuber thing started with a few things. One is Yogscast, and it was incredible. Like they were playing the game. They played the game for a week or two already. In game we never even knew. And so they were playing, and then they finally did a video, and that did obviously really well. Their fan Friday video, and that did incredibly well for us. And then we had these Russian casters. It's funny actually. We launched a game, and usually in the mornings, right? It's not European peak time, is not US peak time. So in the morning there are fewer people playing the game. There's some Australian players. Yeah. But there were fewer players, a lot fewer players. And then all of a sudden, there was a ton of players one day. They were just sitting around working on the game, and all of a sudden there's a ton of players, and they're all speaking Russian. And then we're like, what is happening? And then finally we got hold of a couple of Russian, English-speaking Russian players, and they told us that, as it turned out, a couple big Russian YouTubers did videos on the game. So now we have, for a long time we have, a pretty dedicated Russian following.
And that's such a great story. And I know you guys just finished up being at PAX 2015, and that went really well. I've been watching. Guys, I'll link to you anything that was announced or any links that I can send to you for about PAX this year will be in the description of this video, so you can check out all the information. And again, everything that Howard's saying about this game, I'll have all the resources down in the description below. Go check it out, because seriously, the game is awesome and so much fun and it's super unique. So
thanks.
Yeah,
PAX was great. We did it differently this year. We basically got a room on Airbnb, and so we demoed the game there. Just because it's still in prototype, and we just wanted to give some journalists and some YouTubers the opportunity, or Twitch streamers the opportunity to preview the game. So we supposedly rented a rig from one of our players, who happened to be there. And as it turned out, like, we didn't pay him anything, and instead he crashed. He crashed in our living room. In exchange, that was in exchange for borrowing his rig for the PAX, for just for the duration of PAX to do demo.
Oh, that's awesome! Wow, that's cool. That must have been a fun experience, a dream experience for him.
He's been around. Like he's local, so he's been to a bunch of PAX.
Oh,
he actually helped out at our booth. Was it last year or the year before? The year before, I think. so yeah, it was pretty cool.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I was definitely wondering about that, because I've been having a couple people telling me to get a booth for PAX for my game, and I'm just like, no, because like I'm a one-man team. Okay, I'm still a student. I can't exactly just pay like $5,000 and go there.
I mean, it's really expensive. PAX Prime is more expensive than East, right? East is already
that's the thing.
East is. I mean, going to big con is always expensive, but Prime is actually a lot more expensive than East. We went to MagFest, which is an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's actually where I met you. So
yes, was that the first time we met?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yep.
Huh.
And it was weird too. I remember we seen the booth. I'm just waiting. Guns of Icarus. Wait, these guys are here? Like, what are you guys doing at MagFest? It was cool. It was a really weird experience, but it was awesome too. And I got my picture.
MagFest was awesome. It was all like indie, and the arcade. Like at night, the arcade set was awesome. Like I was just there playing arcade games.
Oh my gosh,
arcade games all night. So
great memories. Yeah,
it was more free flowing too, and people are people who came to MagFest to check out indie games were they were really supportive, and I feel like because it was more affordable, right? I think the diversity of indie games was arguably greater. I mean, at PAX, you have a lot of, obviously, there are a lot of indie games, right? And especially in the mega booth, there are a lot of great indie games. But then the, I mean, and also the caliber indie games are high, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're really great games. But the people who, it's kind of a self-selection thing. The people who are there at PAX, they can afford to be there. You get fewer, like, really experimental stuff.
Exactly.
And I feel like you get more at MacFest.
Yeah,
Right?
things that people are, aren't willing to invest so much money in, you will see those
Yeah.
more at MagFest because it's
Yeah,
less
yeah.
risky. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, you see a lot of very experimental things.
But I mean, just stuff like that, I feel like was really cool. That's unique about MagFest or the smaller cons that kind of don't get as much in bigger cons. I don't know if you remember when Hawken launched, right? They had this massive presence at PAX East or PAX Prime. I can't remember. Even if we're bigger, we're doing better. I'm still not sure if like spending a bunch of money on all the cons is still a good idea. I mean, we'll still pick and choose, I feel.
Yeah, and think it's definitely, when you have big AAA studios, they have this budget set aside for
Yeah,
things
exactly.
like PAX and E3. Because if you see a big
Yeah.
a AAA studio at PAX, they got to be at E3 too. Maybe not PAX Prime and E3 because you see a lot of companies that only stick to one. But yeah, it's definitely true because there's like these different tiers of game companies that sort of have these budgets and goals and marketing teams and things like that. Well, then we come to the big question for all my subscribers on YouTube who are young developers and who are just new programmers and artists and just trying to get into the field of game development. What is your advice for new developers or inexperienced developers who want to break into the industry?
I mean, I think that's a good question. I mean, I feel like breaking in really isn't as much. I mean, the barrier isn't nearly as high as before, but I feel like the best way to break into the industry really is just to make a game. I remember when I was still in grad school, I actually interned at Konami, and I really, really, really wanted to break into the game industry and really wanted to get an internship at a game company and whatnot, to work there, get a job there, doing marketing. And I mean, the people at Konami at the time were great. They were all great. But then I feel like for me at the time, I definitely felt like, oh, game industry is super hard to break into. It's like, I feel like it's really kind of it's closed circle, or like it's a really small and closed industry. I feel like once we started to make games and started to go to different events locally, or to go to, like, say, GDC, go to PAX and meet people, they feel like more and more will become part of the industry just by actually doing it. And in a lot of ways, failing at it.
And fail with losing the least amount of money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
not
think
go broke. Fail and don't go broke.
yeah, basically. I feel like failing early, especially in prototyping phase, it could allow you to try a lot of different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But then I do think that it does take some persistence and grit, in willing to kind of go through putting in the extra effort to polish a game. And I think that still resonates.
That's a great answer to that question. Definitely very, very different than many of other developers I've talked to. And it's so interesting that because of the background that you have in game development and the way you kind of got into the industry is so different than many other developers. Having a history, being a history major, business major, that's very different. So it's really cool to see you come from this different perspective and to be able to hear that. Yeah. So what is next for you guys? What is next for you? What is next for the company? I assume you're going to be working on Guns of Icarus for many more years to come. But what do you think your future looks like right now?
Right now, it's really about just continuing to progress with the expansion. Just getting that in a better state, both in terms of core gameplay, but also in terms of progression. On the side, we're also prototyping another game, and we've actually done it on and off. We've been doing it for a while, for a few months now.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's good change of pace. I feel like we've been working on the same. I mean, there's still a room to create, which is great. But yeah, we've been working on the same under the same umbrella for a long while now.
That's really cool. It seems you guys are on the right track, and you can't wait to see what this next prototype is going to be. Any word on the announcement, the release date, or of a teaser trailer, or is that not in the picture yet?
Not yet. A lot of it is working out, still trying to work out the core mechanics of the game. We're actually making it primarily for iOS.
Okay.
To actually have an experience where you use gesture and touch and no D-pad, no virtual D-pad, no like virtual buttons is pretty interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
That takes a lot of experimentation, I think.
And you guys want to keep in mind too, Apple just announced their 3D touch for their devices, so now there's pressure sensitive phones.
Actually, yeah,
that could be really cool for you guys.
That is true. I mean, so right now the gestures all is pretty much tap and swipe, right?
Yeah.
But to build something where it's like tab hold, that could be really cool. I'll get you a build.
Cool. Is this Unity 5 you guys are using?
Yeah, actually we are. With guns, we're more conservative. We're just switching over.
Then that's really, really awesome to hear. Everything you said so far, just coming from the background for Guns of Icarus and everything you guys are doing for the future. Howard, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me on the show. And I'm sure all my subscribers are going to appreciate this too. This has been awesome. You are inspiring to me as a young developer who is also sort of going to shows and trying to make as many real friends and trying to really understand and know people for real, and not just make connections or network like you were saying earlier. Really try and be real about it. And it's really cool to meet other developers who are being really real about it too, and very honest and humble. And that definitely is you guys. You and I met, and George wasn't able to be featured on this, but George is another one of the members on the team, and he is incredible too. You guys are also humble, and that is just something that you don't see a lot in the AAA industry. You see a lot of things going down behind the scenes, and a lot of legal action being taken for certain companies, and not calling out any names, but I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about. For anybody that's been following the gaming news recently.
And also to plug George, to plug my teammate. George is actually really incredible. I mean, his background is actually in art. He went SVA as an artist, and then really learned programming. He's like really skilled at it. So he kind of bridge that gap between art and programming as well. I mean, he does everything. He is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. You guys, and I'm sure the other 8 of you guys on the team are just as amazing and talented. And I hope the best for you guys in the future, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next. So again, thank you so much for being on the show. And thanks, guys, for tuning in. Again, all Guns of Icarus links and anything I can point you guys to, all that will be in the description below. Please go check that out. Go like their Facebook page. Go follow them. Go get the game on Steam. It's super fun, and they keep updating it. And yes, they are actually one of the developers on Kickstarter that are actually working on the games. So keep that in mind. Yes. All right. Like this video, guys. Comment, subscribe. If you want to keep seeing more of these, I do gaming tutorials. I do a whole bunch of different things on my channel. All the links to that will be shortly after this. So thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.